Welcome to day 3 of our Bible devotion. We're still continuing in the book of Genesis. So we talked about the creation, talked about the fall and the flood. Now we're going to talk about the promise. And there's one thing that I would like to go back to about the fall. This is what happened in Genesis chapter 3. So when God found out that Adam and Eve disobeyed his command not to eat from the tree of good and evil, so what happened is that he confronted them, and then he eventually gave out the punishment. So verse 14, God talked to the serpent first. Verse 14, Genesis chapter 3 verse 14. The Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock, and above all beasts of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." Now, I'd like to point out something very important here. In theology, this is what we call proto-evangelion, or the first good news. What is good news in this? The snake is being punished. The good news is that when God gave out the punishment for the disobedience of Adam and Eve because of the fall, because of eating that forbidden fruit, He also gave out the promise. He said that the evil who tempted Adam and Eve will actually meet the greatest foe. He said, verse 15, "I will put enmity between you and the woman," but not the woman, actually he said, "and between your offspring and her offspring." And who is the offspring of the woman? It says there, "He," that means the male offspring of the woman, "he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." This is the first prophecy about Jesus Christ. So that's going way ahead of the story, but we just have to mention that because it will make more sense as we go on along, as we read the Bible from the Old Testament and then until we reach the New Testament. So basically, when Adam and Eve fell, God banished them from the paradise, but He gave a promise that one day the serpent will be defeated. Death will be defeated. Because the basic punishment, the most fundamental punishment for the disobedience of Adam and Eve is that now they are mortals. Now they die. Before, when they were in paradise, they don't die because they live in the presence of God. They're eternals. But now they're mortals. And they were banished from heaven, banished from the paradise. They are sent to experience hardships, and then the flood came, Noah survived, and then God actually will fulfill the promise from the descendant of from the descendant of Adam to the descendant of Noah, who is actually now Abraham and his descendants. These are the clans of the sons of Noah according to their genealogies in their nations. And from this, the nation spread abroad on the earth after the flood. So God wiped out humanity, left Noah and his family, but after the flood, from Noah came all the people of the earth. So the earth became populated again. And then out of all the population of the world, from Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, from the line of Shem came Abraham. And God gave promises to Abraham. Promises that I will give you descendants, I will give you a land, and I will give you a name. So those promises will be seen fulfilled later on in the later chapters of Genesis, and even in the later chapters in later books of the Bible. And what we want to highlight here is that God is a promise keeper, and God is so loving that even though He gave a punishment, even though He banished humanity, despite our disobedience, God still loves us and gives us second chances. Why would He still want to keep humanity in His fold? I mean, people disobeyed Him. I mean, if we created something and that robot, that AI just gone rogue, just kill it. Just start from scratch. God could have just started from scratch again, but He did not. He keeps on giving us second chances, third, fourth, fifth. That's how loving God is. And He manifests it through Adam, through Noah, and then through Abraham and his descendants. And we'll keep studying about the descendants of Abraham in the coming